awesome friends. Welcome to another episode of Optimize with Francis. How are you all doing? I know it's been a minute. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much for all the love, all the check-ins, all the engagements with our posts, likes, shares, and comments. Truly, truly appreciate every bit of you. I love it. Continue to share, continue to engage with our posts. As we always say, someone in your neighborhood may need to hear something that we are sharing together on this journey of self-optimization. All right, today we are going to be talking about a man called Abraham, and we are going to be focusing on the topic tagged strength of character. So let's look at strength of character as we x-ray the life of Abraham, and as we call him in the Christian world, Father Abraham. That's what most of us know him as. All right, so Abraham is a young man. When I say young man, for us that grew up knowing him as Father Abraham, we always forget that he was young at some point before he became a father. Anyway, so Abraham is a man who has who lives with a father, had a brother, the brother passed, but the brother had a son before passing, and the Bible says that his son is Lot. So Abraham takes on his son, who is his nephew, takes on his nephew and treats him like a son. How do I know this? Because the Bible story says that the Lord told Abraham to leave his father's house to a land that he's going to show him. And Abraham takes Lot along. So Lot is like a son. But something that really interested me along this story is that somewhere along the line, I now see that Abraham's herdsmen and Lot's herdsmen are fighting. At that point, I get confused. Like, when did Lot get herdsmen? That means under Abraham's leadership, Lot is not just flourishing, he's flourishing enough to have herdsmen, and that is absolutely lovely. So Abraham has invested in him as a person and invested in him enough to set him up for success, to have herdsmen just like him, and that is what any true father would do. But we now see something that is not really incongruent with what Abraham is doing from Lot's side, because the story goes that as the men were fighting, me at that point, I'm like, is it that Lot hasn't heard that his herdsmen are fighting with his father or big uncle's herdsmen? Why didn't he step in and say, no, you can't fight with him? He's the one that brought me up. He's the one that set me up for success. But he doesn't do that. Anyway, at some point, Abraham now calls Lot and says, we are brothers. We cannot fight. Your herdsmen and my herdsmen are fighting. Why not choose? So I stay glued, waiting for Lot's response, thinking that at that point, Lot will pretend, even if he knew before, he'll just pretend. I'll say, Father Abraham, I didn't know our herdsmen were fighting. No, they can't fight. I'll step in, I'll call my herdsmen to order and tell them that you're big uncle and they can't fight with you. I was disappointed because Lot didn't do that. Rather, Lot looks around and looks to the green pastures, to the choice area, and says, I choose this area, leaving the less choice area to his uncle, come his dad. So at this point, let me pause before I continue with the story. I want you to begin to think of all the times that you feel that you've given someone or you've invested so much in something and you're expecting someone to pay back or something to pay back or a reward, and you feel, just imagine, after everything I did. See how Abraham responds to this and take a cue from it. So Abraham doesn't react. I'm like, this is the point where people will tell you being nice doesn't mean stupidity. How can someone you set up, someone you brought up, someone you brought along with you, now be wise like this and do that, for him to react? But he doesn't react. Anyway, let the story continue. As Lot has moved on to where he wants to go towards Sodom, actually. We're going to do another topic on that. Very interesting. I know you love to hear that. So he moves towards Sodom, and as the story goes, Lot is carried away in captivity with his family. And the same uncle, Father Abraham, immediately he hears it, rallies round his men, gets everything he can get, and pursues after to liberate his son slash nephew, who just took away the choice part of his land after everything he had done for him. He went and rescued him. So what that made me to ponder a little bit about the strength of Abraham's character, the consistency in his behavior, in his kindness to his nephew, who's more or less like his son now. He was consistently kind to him. It didn't matter how Lot behaved in response, right? It didn't matter the reciprocation of that love. We don't know the full details, but I just took a part of that story, right? So just trying to focus on how consistent Abraham's character was towards his nephew. He was kind, he was kind, he was kind. So whatever the other party did not alter the consistency of his character. It did not alter whether he was going to kind or wicked to him. Wickedness was not in his DNA, and he wasn't going to generate it or manufacture it just because he felt unfairly treated by someone he called his son. So that brings me to something really important. How strong is your character? How would you tag yourself in the face of what you've set as a goal? What's the reason why you've not been living up to your goal for this year? Why have you not been living up to the resolution you set this year, where you said that this year I'm going to be very intentional to be kind to my spouse? Why haven't you been kind? Most times we'll say, I had the resolution that this year I'm not going to scream at my partner. I'm not going to, scream at my children. I'm going to be kinder in my relationship with my loved ones. But somehow you've not been living up to it because you've been reacting and not being consistent with your true character. What's your true nature? Is your nature kind or unkind? Where exactly do you fall in? Most times you're not even sure again because you've been so reactional. Everything you've been doing is a reaction to what A, B, C did. So if A does wicked, you do wicked. If B does unkind, you do unkind. If C does this, you do this. What is the strength of your character towards what you've set to do? Are you reactional? Oh, I'm so committed to being fit, but the reason I've not been fit is because there's been bad food around me. So somehow the strength of my character cannot carry it. So I have to be disciplined with food, even though I said I'm disciplined with food, right? So how would you evaluate yourself? As we do during our podcast, when we talk about these things, it's time to begin to x-ray yourself. Begin to ask yourself questions. How strong is my character? How consistent is my character? What exactly am I? Am I kind or unkind? Am I happy or unhappy? So if A plays unhappy, then I play unhappy back. If B plays this, I play it back. You mix up and muggle up a lot of character that you don't even know which one you are. But look at this Bible character we're looking at, Father Abraham. He's consistently kind. Honestly, at the point where his nephew, who is like his son, got taken in captivity with his family, I was expecting him to say, I keep quiet and the Lord fights my battles. Even the wicked, all the things we say to gloat over people when things go wrong. And rightfully so. He would have been justified if he gloated over his nephew. He said, yes, after choosing this, he thought that, as a man of God, in my silence, the Lord fought for me. That was a good time to sit and say it was the seed he sowed that he's reaping. And just let him remain in captivity. But that wasn't Abraham. That would have been inconsistent with his character. That would have been inconsistent with his person. That's not who he is. I mean, he could address Lot's issue later on if he wanted, but he wasn't going to put up a character that was inconsistent with who he was. So, what's your own character? How consistent are you with the person you are? If you review your persona, what would you call it? If you review and assess your behavior towards your goal, towards your New Year resolution, towards that thing you've set that you're not going to do again or you're going to do again, what would you say is a consistency of your character? Why have you been following through or not following through or falling back? Is it just because of all the actions of third parties, and you're not taking responsibility for any behavior you put up because they have all messed up, so I gave it back to them? Or the temptations were in front, so I fell to it and I didn't follow through? Take time to ponder, take time to think, and take time to answer that question. What is the strength of your character? Have an awesome week, friends. It's always a lovely time hanging out with us, and I'm sure you enjoyed this time too. Let me know in the comment section below if you enjoyed any part of this message. All right, until next time. I know you want to hear that part where I said chose towards Sodom. Very interesting. You want to listen to the next episode. See you all, friends, and have an awesome week. Bye. Love you.